All right, let's dive into the OWASP Top 10. Now, this isn't just another cybersecurity list you can skim. The new 2025 release, it's telling us a story about a huge shift in digital risk. We're moving away from finding simple little bugs to fighting these massive architectural failures. Let's break down what that really means.
This quote from the analysis, man, it just says it all. We've moved past the days of just hunting for isolated coding errors. The biggest dangers we face now, they live in the very foundation of how we build and connect our systems. It's a completely different ballgame.
And this new threat landscape is perfectly mirrored in the 2025 OWASP list. I mean, the very top of the chart is dominated by these deep foundational failures. We're not just talking about simple mistakes anymore, we're talking about major weaknesses in the architecture itself. So let's meet the king of the jungle, the absolute apex predator of vulnerabilities. Coming in at number 1 for the second time in a row is broken access control. And believe me, there's a very, very good reason it's still sitting on top of that throne. Okay, this is the number that should stop you in your tracks. 100%. In the dataset OWASP looked at, some form of broken access control was found in every single application they tested. Not most of them, all of them. The problem is literally everywhere. And the scale is it's staggering. We're not talking about a few dozen cases here and there. We're talking about almost 2 million occurrences found in the data. That is the largest volume of any category by a huge margin. Now, let's just look at these other numbers for a second. This one category maps to 40 different types of documented weaknesses. And that AV-weighted exploit score of over 7, that tells us that, on average, these vulnerabilities aren't just severe, they're also pretty darn easy for an attacker to find and use. That's a dangerous combination. So what is it exactly? Well, in the simplest terms, broken access control is when the system just fails to check who you are and what you're actually allowed to do. It's kind of like a building where the key to your one office apartment somehow opens every single door on the entire floor. I know that all sounds a bit abstract, so let's make it real. How does an attacker actually take advantage of a flaw like this? You would be absolutely shocked at how simple it can be. And this right here is the classic attack. So you're logged in, you're looking at your own account page, and up in the URL, you see your account number. Now, what happens if you just change that number in the address bar? If the system doesn't bother to check that you are allowed to see account 456 and it just shows it to you, that's it. Game over. Now, let's talk about risk number 2, security misconfiguration. This one is number 1's best friend, and it has shot up the charts for one key reason: the sheer, mind-boggling complexity of the cloud-based systems we all depend on today. Check out that jump. It went from number 5 all the way up to number 2. And just like our number 1 risk, it was found in 100% of the applications they tested. What this tells us is that as our systems get more and more configurable, we are getting those configurations wrong, a lot. The best way to think of this one is just leaving your digital doors and windows unlocked. It's using the default password that came with the software, enabling features you don't actually need, or setting up a cloud storage bucket and accidentally leaving it wide open to the entire internet. Some of the most common mistakes are things we see all the time. Leaving default accounts active is a huge one. Attackers have automated scripts that try those default passwords for everything imaginable. Another classic is an error message that reveals way too much information. That's basically like giving a burglar the blueprints to your house. Okay, now here's where it gets really interesting and frankly really dangerous. These top 2 risks, they aren't isolated. Out in the real world, they often work together in this devastating 1-2 punch. So the critical question becomes, how are they related? How does a simple mistake in a configuration file connect to someone stealing a bunch of data they should never have had access to? Well, the link is direct, and it's what makes this threat so powerful. Here's the chain reaction. It starts with a security misconfiguration. That cloud storage bucket is left open to the public. The attacker finds it and just walks right in. That's the compromise. And the result? A catastrophic broken access control failure, because the attacker now has free rein to access data they were never ever meant to see. The misconfiguration creates the opening, and the access control failure is the goal. So, since the threats themselves have evolved to be systemic and architectural, our defenses have to evolve right along with them. We can't just fix one-off bugs anymore. We have to think so much bigger.
This slide shows the shift perfectly. We have to move out of a reactive mode, playing whack-a-mole with individual coding errors, and into a proactive one. That means designing resilience into our systems from the absolute start and automating our configurations to make sure they are secure and, more importantly, that they stay secure. And that means we have to embrace principles like deny by default, where absolutely no one gets access to anything unless they are explicitly granted permission. It means centralizing our access rules so they're consistent everywhere. And it means using automation to build and monitor our systems so a misconfiguration can be caught in seconds, not months down the line.
So if you take one thing away from this, it should be this. Modern security is a strategic design challenge. It's about how we architect and configure the entire system, not just how we fix a single line of code. And that leaves us with one final thought to really chew on. The threat landscape has clearly fundamentally changed. The question you have to ask yourself is, has your defense changed with it?